Well, on the pitching side, kind of unusual September 1st with doubleheader, so we have to keep that in mind as we're thinking through these different things. And obviously, when players get sent down and on the roster, they have a 15-day restriction. So we had to think about what would happen after a doubleheader. You almost never have a doubleheader day without transactions afterwards, and so we had to keep that in mind. As for Canario, he's been swinging the bat well. He's on the 40-man roster. We're excited to have him up here. He's a really good player. He's a great kid. He's earned it with, what a horrible rehab to go through after such a special season last year. So really happy for him. And I would expect throughout September we're going to have a lot of roster moves. We're in a pennant race, and the rules have changed. And this isn't the September 1st of the old days when you call everyone up and there's no more options. There'll be a lot of moves, but these are the two we made today.
When you're debating bringing up Canario, how much are you weighing? Like, okay, maybe best for his development is playing every day, but he can be a valuable piece for a pennant race. It may stunt his development in some way, but this can help us win.
Yeah, I think he'll get at bats for sure. The rest of the way, he's not gonna be in a position where he's not playing, for the entire month. But someone was gonna have their everyday playing paused, right? And maybe that ends up being a lot of people at different stages of the month. But we did talk about it. It was a consideration, but ultimately he was the right decision.
I was just looking back, on that devastating combo injury, for him to even be at this point where he was even in play to be brought up. What can you say about the work he's put in, not only on the rehab side, but he talked about getting his timing back over the last 2.5 months to have this sort of opportunity.
Yeah, that was a horrible injury, and certainly there was a possibility of him not playing at all. And as he was struggling early on, it was never really a concern because you're thinking to yourself, like, this guy already dominated at these levels a year ago. So really, it was just a matter of he's running well, the bat speed's there. It's just a matter of sort of getting his timing, as you said, and getting back on track. And it's been fun. And not many guys get hotter than he does. He's had some epic hot streaks even in his time as a Cub, and he started to get on one at the end. And who knows right now with our playing time? We have a pretty deep team already when we're at 26, and so being at 28 now, there's not going to be a ton of at bats for that position, but hopefully he'll get in there in the right moment and get his debut under his belt and come up big for us.
What were the thoughts when it initially happens and you're thinking about what that means for his future and how long it could take, and then he seems to have rehabbed pretty quickly through all that?
Yeah, they were both bad injuries, right? So you one bad injury you're concerned about, two bad injuries, it's is this going to sap his athleticism? Is he going to change him as a player? And he worked really hard, and it hasn't. So great job by the rehab staff. Obviously the credit really goes to him for the work he put in, because you talk to any athlete, the rehab process is just excruciating, and for him to get through it as well as he did is really, really impressive.
What have you thought of Jordan Wicks and his first two starts in the big leagues? What would surprise you so far?
Just really poised. I think that's the biggest thing. The stuff plays. He's got a lot of weapons. Obviously, the changeup is a great major league pitch, but he's had some moments in each game. Obviously, the first few batters of the Pittsburgh game, but even today, scattered throughout, were some moments he had to make big pitches. And I thought the fastball he struck out Encarnacion Strand on was really impressive. So I see really good execution for a young pitcher, and he's going to get challenged in the big leagues. There's going to be more moments to see if he's truly unflappable. But so far, to pitch like this in a pennant race has been really impressive.
You talked about someday hoping to have a homegrown bullpen. Right now, you have 3 homegrown starters in a potential playoff team rotation. How gratifying is that? And can you kind of picture that you're already at this spot?
Yeah. Yeah, so very gratifying, especially. It was, such a source of frustration for us that we weren't able to do that before. And, now we're at a position where, we have these guys up here. I think we have more on their way, which is wonderful. I think this is the front edge of that. But we have a really good pitching infrastructure. We've drafted well, but we've brought guys in, and I think we've made guys better, which is wonderful, and we have all the trust in those guys to continue to do that. And it's how you have to win in today's game. You're going to have pitching injuries. You're going to need a lot of innings, and the more you can have homegrown guys, the better. And obviously, I think this is the start of that.
With Greene, he was saying that he kind of brought to you guys that he wanted to try starting. Just what were those conversations like, and kind of what do you think of his winding path to get here?
Yeah, I mean, as a veteran guy like that, I think those guys know their body. I think they know what it takes to become their sharpest. And so obviously it's not the role he's been very good in the major leagues in, but sometimes like getting a chance to be out there and face guys multiple times and throw a lot of pitches can really help. So yeah, he's stretched out right now, and he's been good for us, and obviously he's got a really impressive track record.
What have you made of the clubhouse chemistry? I know you talked about it like leading into the trade deadline about how much you liked it, but just how much do you think that's played into the success this season?
For sure. The biggest thing I noticed with this group is it feels like, their focus every day is to come in here and win a game. And, there's no talk of anything else, really, which is impressive. The group is not distracted by anything. They come in, they prepare exceptionally well. They focus on the game plan against the starter every night really well. And what I've liked is that the nights that we've lost, we've gotten beaten. So this is... The other team gets paid also, right? There's some nights you're going to come in, the other pitcher's really good, or the other offense clicks. But I don't feel like we've, in months and months, I don't feel like we've had games where it didn't feel like we were mentally prepared to go out and try to win a game. And I think that says a lot about the leadership of the group. It says a lot about the coaching staff, and I don't see any reason that's going to change.
To kind of go off of that, to go from 10 games under 500 to 10 games over, how difficult is that day-to-day mental approach when you have kind of that daunting climb ahead of you and to get where this group is at right now?
Yeah, I don't really like to kind of look at things like that midway. Doesn't much matter. It matters where we finish the season, right? But yeah, I think when you're staring at being 10 under, it is daunting. That's probably the right word. And I think that the only way you can dig out of that hole is one win at a time. You can't get it all back by definition. And I think, like I said, this is a very methodical group. The personalities of these guys are, I think, methodical in how they approach the game. And you have to have one good series after another. And we really, you look at the second half, we've done that over and over. We've had one good series after another, one good game after another. And I think that starts with that really good preparation. Kind of each game, each series. And like I said, I don't see any reason that mentality is going to change.
Was there the sense of frustration with the way the waiver wire stuff played out? He was just essentially dumping salary and helping playoff teams. Didn't have to give up any prospects.
Yeah, it's such an unusual situation the way it came about this year. I think if it had been one or two guys, I don't think people would have had that kind of frustration. I think the fact that it was so many guys on waivers yesterday. I don't think it's ideal. I think that the buzz around the league when you talk to your colleagues with other teams or has been a level of frustration just because the fact that a couple of teams can kind of grab everyone based on where they're in the standing. So there's no point in complaining about it now. It doesn't matter. The rules are what they are. What happened. But yeah, it'd be something I think would be great to address. I think in the winter, is there a way to change the order after you get one claim, or kind of limit that, because I do think that theoretically kind of one or two teams being able to load up, I don't think that's really the spirit of what we're doing.
We heard Stroman heading to Arizona. Just what are you looking at steps wise?
Yeah, he threw long toss. It feels like he's on the right track. He's going to go out there, throw bullpens, and once he's obviously past that, he'll throw live BP, but it's a good step in the right direction, for sure. This kind of injury, I wish I could give a time frame or give you some sense of, well, we don't know much, right? But clearly this is better than before. He was kind of just straight resting, and now obviously he's actively throwing and going to get off the mound, and I think that's a really good sign.
Just curious, how difficult a decision was it to bring up Canario? Because you're in a good situation in AAA where you have guys like Vasquez and Armstrong playing really well. What goes into that, and how do you land on him?
There's a lot of conversations. The 48-man roster was obviously a consideration. But like I said, I don't look at September 1 anymore as like a cutoff. I think we're going to see a lot of different guys up here over the course of the month, depending on what we might need in a given series, depending on how a guy might be playing. You want to make sure guys are getting at bats and staying fresh. So I think we'll probably treat this like any month. We just happen to have 14 pitchers and 14 position players, but we'll treat it the same way in terms of making roster moves. We won't just like stick with the same roster like we used to in September.
Is getting a lefty in the bullpen a priority in that at some point in the upcoming weeks?
It is. Yeah, I mean, I think we have to, we have to do that, especially when you have 14 pitchers. There's no reason not to. So I think that's something we'll focus on once we get through the doubleheader. And like I said, that created a really unusual situation with having a doubleheader on September 1st. So once we get through that, I think that's something we'll discuss.